Welcome to another moment in time with Taylor. Thank you for watching. Please check out our website, femyoga.com. Click that support button and help us to keep this channel going and growing with your contributions. Thank you to every single person that has supported this channel over the last 30 days. Hey there, Wesley. First comment to the broadcast. We do record these live. However, from what I've researched, we should try to keep these videos to about 8 to 10 minutes. So if you're here live, if you're commenting, I may not be able to respond to all of them, but here's our book for today, which is Risk Intelligence: How to Live with Uncertainty by Dylan Evans. And before we even get into the book itself, I do find the author very interesting and kind of mysterious. So in this book, they have a website that they send you to so that you can determine your risk intelligence, your RQ, like your IQ, but instead of intellect, it's measuring your ability to determine probabilities and risk. Hey, Trapper. That website doesn't exist anymore. I looked all over the internet, couldn't find anything. I had my boyfriend look into Dylan Evans, and what he found was that this guy actually he got involved in some kind of experiment where they tried to kind of like go into the woods and live off of the land. I don't know if it was a test of anarchy or what it really was, but something kind of went wrong, and he went to go tell like he tried to get the people to shut down the experiment, and they refused. They wanted to stay, they wanted to continue in their way of life, and he felt like it just wasn't right. Something wasn't right about what they were doing, and he ended up in a mental institution for 4 months. So that's just like a little bit of the information that we could find about him. So really interesting. If you're able to find any more information about this author, Dylan Evans, I would love to hear kind of where is he now? Where did he go? What happened to his website? Why is that all shut down? Is there some controversy about RQ and risk intelligence? I find that really quite interesting. So it's about 200, I think it was like 210 pages or so, maybe 200 pages. Yeah, 210 pages. So I'm reading 30 pages a day. I was able to get through it in the week. I do try to read a new book every single week. And if you're not already signed up, please do sign up for my free book reviews and summaries on that website. I only send 3 emails a year, and I read a book every single week so you don't have to. And I think it'll be the most valuable emails that you probably receive throughout the year, if not one of the most valuable. And it's going to be 4 months worth of the books that I've read. And this one coming up in the next week is going to be really, really, really valuable because there's going to be lots of books on there, including this one. I haven't written my review on Goodreads on here yet, but follow me on Goodreads as well. It's Fem Yoga over there too. So there's a few things I found interesting about this book besides the author's kind of mysterious um, goings on, and one of them is numeracy. So people usually feel pretty offended and maybe a little bit self-conscious if they are illiterate, meaning they're not comfortable with words, letters, spelling, reading, these types of things. But people are pretty comfortable, at least in America, with being innumerate and not being very comfortable with numbers and not really speaking the language of numbers. And he really says that that's a big problem and that we need to work on that because it makes for a very ambiguous, kind of vague life that we live. And he talks a lot about the different cognitive biases in here, basically what our brain does and what it rebels against and why. For example, ambiguity. We don't like things that are ambiguous. And for some reason, assigning a percentage of likelihood to something actually makes us feel uncomfortable. We want things to be 100%, or we don't even really, our brains don't even want to think about it. We don't want to be 75% sure. We want to be 100% sure, or we don't even want to think about it. So I thought that was pretty interesting. There was a lot in here that I found interesting. Some of the other biases were, let's see if I can remember, one thing that they called I think they call it the CSI effect, which is where after watching CSI, members of a jury are actually very unlikely to convict because they watched this show in which it's almost always 100% certainty that they catch the perpetrator. And in the real world, it's not really like that. I mean, even DNA evidence is oftentimes a probability. Maybe it's a 90% probability that it was that person and it's their DNA, but there is some chance that there isn't, a 10% chance, a 1 out of 10 chance. So I found that really interesting because I like shows like that myself, and it was kind of freaky to think about how that influences my own psychology and my view of the real world. He talked about reasonable doubt. So you're not supposed to, say someone is guilty as a member of a jury unless there is no reasonable doubt. And he talked about, well, what is reasonable? What's a reasonable amount of doubt? So risk intelligence really consists of two parts. Not just the percentage likelihood of something like a probability, which you may have learned in school at some point, the P formula, what is the probability of a certain outcome and how to determine that. And you don't need to be classically studied in order to be a good estimator of probabilities, but also how sure are you that that is the probability? For example, you may want to determine whether or not this video will be between 8 and 10 minutes. Now, if you're watching this live, you don't know yet. If you're watching this on the replay, you have a pretty good chance of already knowing that with 100% certainty whether or not the video is between 8 and 10 minutes. So you would first say, maybe there's a 50% chance that I'm going to make it between 8 and 10 minutes long. And then of that, how sure are you that it's a 50% chance? And that those two numbers together are really your risk. Not only what is the probability of the outcome, but what is your confidence and your percentage of confidence, and thinking in terms of that, trying to assign numbers to how confident you are in any given piece of information. We like to know all of the information. We don't like gaps in our information, in our knowledge. Hey there, Matt. And that was one of the other biases that he talked about. And he talks about knowing what you know. That whole, I think was it Donald Rumsfeld that had the quote that there are things that we know that we know. There are things that we know that we don't know. There are things that we don't know that we know, and there are things that we don't know that we don't know. And the things we don't know that we don't know is really important for us to always keep in mind, that there's a lot of things out there that we don't know, and we're not even aware that we don't know them. We don't even know it's out there. We don't know the right questions to ask. We don't really even know what books to read and what to study and who to ask, because we don't know what we don't know. And I think that's pretty profound and true as well. I'm kind of just flipping through here randomly. There's a lot of interesting information in here, but again, you're supposed to be able to take the test of your risk intelligence, and then he talks about maybe being able to improve that, and that website is shut down. So take all of this with a grain of salt. Hey, oh, Mike, hey. And we have Tobes. And yeah, you don't know what you know. Well, there's things that you don't even realize that you know, right? Like that it's like an instinct. Like it's something that you know, and you totally forget that you know it until it comes up or something like that. And you're like, wow, I can't even believe I remembered that phone number that I had when I was a child, or something like that is one example. So we're at 8 minutes now. Can we finish this in 2 minutes? Let's see. The last thing I'll talk about is the calculation that he uses. I don't have the page saved to give you the proper name of where he got this formula from, but maybe while I'm talking about it, I can find it, which is that this is something from a book, another book, of some guys that work some probabilities out. There it is. Where's the guy's name? Uh-oh, we're going to go over 10 minutes. Von Neumann and Morgenstern. And this is what do they call it? I don't know if it's actually in this chapter where he tells us what it's called. Oh yeah, the book is called The Theory of Games and Economic Behavior by John von Neumann and Oscar Morgenstern. And it draws many lessons from the analysis of poker. And they try to tell you whether or not you should take a gamble or take a bet. And the way you determine that is you have to take the percentage chance of the outcome, either winning or losing. So let's start with winning. So you have to multiply the chance of you winning, the percentage of you winning, multiplied by the amount that you stand to win. So you multiply those together and you get a certain number. And then you take that number and you multiply it by the second number, which is basically the inverse, which is the percentage chance that you're going to lose and the percentage chance, and the amount that you stand to lose. You combine those two numbers and then you multiply those numbers by each other. And if the number is positive, according to these guys, they say that you should take that bet. If the number is negative, you should not take the bet. So when you're playing poker, based on the cards that you have, you can, and I don't personally know this, I'm not a poker player, but you can actually know the chance of you winning with that hand. So if you have like a 2 and an 8 unsuited, the chances of you winning, I know at least as much to know that it's very low that you're going to win a large poker game with a 2 and an 8 unsuited, because, and I'm thinking Texas Hold'em here, but whatever type of poker, because you don't really have anything there. You know, if you have an ace king suited, then your chances of winning or getting a flush or getting a straight, or even just having the highest card, is much higher than when you have, like, let's even say like a 2 and a 6. So you take whatever that numbers, there's actually pure numbers, and thinking like that rather than going on a gut, rather than like looking at your partner and saying, oh, does he look like he thinks he's going to win or not, all of that aside, just thinking in terms of numbers and getting used to assigning exact numbers, because that was one of the other biases. Oh, we're at almost 11 minutes. Who put money on that I was going to finish this by 10 minutes? So, oh crap, what was I about to say? One of the other biases. Oh, which is that we don't like the numbers between 0 and 100. So we'll usually say like we have anywhere from like an 80 to 100% confidence in something, or we might say something really low. Maybe a 50-50 is one thing, but we don't really use numbers like 57% or 65% or 32%. Those numbers, our brains don't like to work with that because it's hard for us to really process numbers in those levels. We can think of something's most likely or very, very unlikely, right? Like a 10% chance or a 1% chance. But for like a 40% chance, it's just very, we're not comfortable working with that. And when I say we, I am talking about Americans. I'm sure there's societies that are much more numerate and much more comfortable with numbers. They do talk about how weathermen are very good at probabilities because they have to do it all the time in their jobs. And now they're good at probabilities of weather, they actually don't have as strong of risk intelligence in general life. And that's mainly because with weather, you have just a few variables, right? You have precipitation, you have temperature, you have chances of storms. You don't have like a physician who has a whole plethora of things that could be going on with any given patient, and they have to consider the entire body and the entire psychology of the person. And there's so many variables and so many things that could be affecting this person. It's much harder to be accurate with your probabilities. And they use that as an example that doctors have a less specialized, they have a lower specialized risk intelligence, but a higher generalized risk intelligence than weather people. So I thought that was kind of interesting. I see a few comments here that I'm probably missing. Sounds meta, or you could bluff. I like 69% confidence. Nice, Mike, why not? I had 69% battery today. That made me laugh and it made me think of you because you love that number. Anyway, that's this book, Risk Intelligence by Dylan Evans, How to Live with Uncertainty. So just be aware that the test to test your RQ is not available here. I don't know if there's other ones that you can take online. I didn't actually come across any, but I wasn't looking all that hard. But it made me very skeptical of everything in this book once I realized that that website was no longer in existence. So who really knows? If you guys do know what happened to Dylan Evans, please comment below so I know. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel. Click the bell so you can turn your notifications on so you know when I'm live or when I post a new video. And please remember to give this video a thumbs up. I know a lot of you watch from your phones and you don't actually see the little thumbs up there until you leave the live chat and go and thumbs it up. So I appreciate that because that tells YouTube that it should rank me higher in the results when people are looking for book reviews like this. Hey, Ryan. So I do new book reviews all the time. I read a new book every week. On average, I read 52 books a year. Please do sign up for that book review over at femyoga.com. It's totally free. And then click the support button and help us to keep this channel going and growing together. Remember, if you subscribe for monthly sponsorships, you'll be entered to win $100 every single month on the 17th. So I hope that you'll do that. I hope you'll help me to keep this going with my vision of having 24-hour a day live content, positive and engaging live content. I hope you guys had a great day. Allie did do awesome today. I'm going to be live over on Periscope next, so I hope you'll join me over there. Let me type that into the chat really quick in case anybody is here that doesn't already follow me over there. And I'll see you over there in just a little bit. I think I'm going to have a beer and talk about some books. We can talk more about this book since I obviously have more thoughts and we've gone for about 15 minutes and I need to cut myself off. This has been a moment in time with Taylor. Thanks for watching. Hope to see you on the next one. Check out my playlists. Bye.